Hello, and welcome to Remembering Together, the LMJ's podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harold. Each month, we explore the many ways Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia touch our lives, from personal stories of families affected by this disease to the ongoing efforts to find a cure. Join us as we raise awareness, share support, and learn together about the impact of Alzheimer's on nearly 7 million people worldwide. Let's remember together and work toward a future where no one faces this disease alone. Welcome to Remembering Together, an LMJ's Lost Souls podcast. This is our first ever podcast at episode number 1, so we're going to give it a go. I'm new to this arena, but I'm really excited because the most important thing is I love to talk, and you're going to learn that I love to talk about myself a little bit as well. My name is Matt Harold. And I have the opportunity to have 2 amazing people here today that I get to call dear friends, but also 2 people who are going to share their personal stories and what they are doing to give back to their communities. As I mentioned, I am the host. I am Matt Harold. I have a personal connection to the Alzheimer's disease that has done a lot to my family, and we've had an experience that I wish on no one. Back in 2011, my mom started showing signs that concerned us as a family. And in 2013, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. At that point, we didn't know what to do as a family, and we really didn't know what to do for our mom. Fast forward to 2019, and unfortunately, Alzheimer's took my mom's life. At that point, I had already really developed the thought process of I need to do more, and I need to do more because I don't want other families to feel what we felt or our family felt. The most important thing that we could do at that point was to get together with friends and try and raise money with the end goal of finding a cure. So as you know my journey here, let me introduce my 2 guests. First is Carrie Ann Ryan, who is the president and founder of LMJ's Lost Souls, as well as the director of marketing and development at Midwest Moving and Storage. Carrie Ann, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Next is Lori Urbanik. Lori is a board member of LMJ's Lost Souls, along with the director of strategic marketing for the Daily Herald Media Group. Lori, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Lori, I'm going to start with you. Tell me about your experience. Tell me about how you got involved with LMJs.
Well, as far as Alzheimer's go, back in 2009 is when I met Carrie Ann, and she is the person who introduced me to Lost Souls, which was a group that she had put together to fundraise for Alzheimer's disease. So I would go to the events that she was hosting and trying to help fundraise and, do what I could as far as that goes. And then fast forward to, at that time, I should go backwards a little bit. At that time, I didn't have much connection to Alzheimer's or dementia. It truly was through Carrie Ann. So she kind of introduced me to the cause itself. Fast forward to probably about 2019, 2020, and my husband's uncle had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So that was kind of the first time that it was really introduced to the family and became, got a little closer to us. And unfortunately, he did pass away in 2021 due to complications. And then again, just a slight fast forward, we had started to notice things with my mother-in-law. She was just kind of not remembering things, confusion and stuff that we were kind of like, is she messing with us? Is she really not getting it? And then she unfortunately had a fall, and that kind of snowballed and kind of turned into where she is today. She was later diagnosed with Parkinson's and Parkinsonian dementia. So she has since moved into a memory care facility where she is now. So when that all went down, I remember calling Carrie Ann or texting you, I can't remember exactly, and saying, I would like to be more involved. I don't know what that means, but I would like to be more involved in Lost Souls in some way. And she's like, got it, noted, I will let you know. Well, boy, did she let me know. She called me, or again, maybe she texted me and said, hey, you want to meet for a cup of coffee? I said, sure. So I thought we were just going to get together, talk about maybe a networking event or, one of our board positions. And she's like, so, I've been thinking about starting a nonprofit for Alzheimer's, and I, in partnership with you, Matt, and I and Matt would really like for you to be a part of it. We want you to be one of the partners. And I was like, absolutely. I couldn't think of a better time to be involved. My heart is in it for like all the right reasons. I have so many people in my circle that have been affected by it. And here we are, year 2.
So you mentioned 2 different experiences, obviously very personal, people in your life. So what have you learned, maybe the biggest takeaway that you've had or biggest thing you've learned through both of the process you had with your uncle and then the process you're currently going through with your mother-in-law, unfortunately?
There's a few things that come to mind. One thing, and it may not sound like anything major, but I think it's definitely something that I've seen and I felt and I see it in my husband, is the patience that you have for that person who is going through it. I remember when we were unsure of what was exactly happening with my mother-in-law. This was all new to us, so we truly had no idea. And you do get a little frustrated, for lack of a better way of saying it. And you're like, what are you saying? Why are you not remembering? And it sounds terrible to say that out loud now, but at the time you don't know that you're saying that. So now knowing that, she does have dementia and she is in memory care, when she struggles, we want to make her feel okay. It's okay that you can't finish that sentence. It's okay. It happens to us all the time. We just had lunch with her the other day. And I'm like, Marianne, it happens to me all the time. Don't worry about it. We forget words. I couldn't remember the word zest yesterday. It's just things that happen. And we just want to keep her feeling as normal, as possible. But another thing too, and I've said this at events that we've been at, is how large the community is of people that are affected, people that have lost, people that are currently dealing with this and caregiving for. It's kind of like when you buy a new car and you're like, oh, you don't see that car on the street. And then all of a sudden you see it everywhere. Now that we've started LMJs, it's just crazy to me how many people have lost a mother, a father, an aunt, an uncle, a brother to the disease.
It's amazing the data that keeps coming out, and the numbers, unfortunately, just keep getting bigger and bigger. Now reports, over nearly 7 million people are currently experiencing this. And it's not a matter of, your circle gets so much smaller when you see all that. So Lori, thank you for sharing your story and your experience. So moving on to Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann, let's give a breakdown to our audience of what it is that brought you to the table here and your Alzheimer's experience.
Well, I have told my story multiple times, and it does revolve around my grandmother. She had Alzheimer's, and she had it for many, many years. I had a long experience with it, but I don't really talk about my very first experience with it, and that was my grandmother's brother. He had it first when she was completely normal, because I remember her inviting her brother and sister-in-law over to our house for dinner. My grandmother lived with us, so we had, we were very close in that sense. And I remember her bringing him over for dinner and her kind of thinking like, I just want to see him. I know that there's a lot going on over there, and I want to get that experience with him before I don't see him anymore, because nobody knew back then really what this was all about, especially us. We didn't know what we were going through. And I vividly remember that dinner. It was so bizarre to see my uncle, who I knew as this big, strong as an ox, like military guy, who was at our dinner table, literally acting like a 3-year-old, just making noises, and my aunt trying to help him eat and help him to the bathroom. And it was just such a weird experience to watch and to experience. And then, they came and then they left. And then it was like, kind of out of your brain, but it stuck with me. But I was like, okay, wow, that was really weird. That was bizarre what we just experienced, because he was so far into it. And on top of that, my aunt was his full-time caregiver. She was handling all that. And, they were older people in their 80s. So fast forward, my grandma started to show signs. Doesn't always happen that it goes, exactly in the family like that, but it is very common. And so having that kind of in the back of my head, that was very scary to me, to realize that she could be like him someday. So, it was hard to go through 13 plus years of that experience with her, and every step and every phase of Alzheimer's that one could possibly go through, which every journey is different, we went through and witnessed and watched and lived through and learned through, because again, there wasn't as much information. I was definitely not as educated as I am now. So it was a difficult path to live through. And I decided at one point in the kind of the middle of it, when my mom was caring for my grandmother in our home that we all lived in, and I was watching, all this go on, that I literally had no control. I was trying to help. I took care of her bills and I helped her get to work because she worked for a long time, even with the disease, for the routine of it. And I was like, there's nothing I can do to fix this. It's just so, sad. And so that's why I started to research and look into the Alzheimer's Association and things I can do. And I thought, you know what, I'm a really good party planner. So I think I can do some fundraising. And that's how it all really just started, was let's do some events, let's raise some money, and let's figure out where that money's going to go.
Carrie Ann, thank you for sharing your experience here. What is something with the experience you've had, a piece of advice or something that you might tell somebody whose family member or friend is going through either Alzheimer's or any form of dementia for that matter?
I think it's really important for us to listen to what they're saying, because everybody's journey is so different. Like I mentioned, not only the journey of the Alzheimer's patient, but the person, the caregiver, the family member. And once you kind of, take in what they're going through, one really important piece of advice is really just to take a step back for them and remember, cherish everything that you have with that person, and whatever you can get out of them still. Like, just really, focus on those things. I remember, fast forward, my mom was not caring for my grandmother anymore. She was in a facility, and I went to visit her, and I touched her hand, and I have a ring on that I wear that she gave me. And she remembered in that moment that it was her ring. And I'll always remember that, because all of a sudden, from nothing, she knew that who I was, and that was her ring. And we had an interaction, and it was just really, really impactful for me. And I tell that story to people to remind them that you never know when those moments might come and go. I think they call them lucid moments. I'm not sure.
Yep.
And just to, take advantage and keep trying and keep being there, because you really don't know, what you're going to miss out on.
It's funny that you say that, because a lot of times when my husband and I are, visiting the memory care facility, and we'll take Mary Ann out, but sometimes when we're just there, her short term is what she's really struggling with right now. And it's more on the confusion side of things. Her long term is okay, so we do things like that. James will sit there and be like, Mom, do you remember so-and-so that we played baseball with? Mom, do you remember my teacher? And just really goes back in time. And you can see, going back to what you said too, as everybody's experience is different. It is very different where my mother-in-law is, and maybe where your mom and your nanny were. So just to see that change on her face when we do start to have those memories with her, it's just nice. And it's like, we have to just cherish the moments, just like you said. These are the moments that we're going to look back on and have a smile on her face and remember a time that maybe she didn't remember a sentence correctly or did something a little goofy, and we're going to have a laugh versus, the sadness that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Well, I think Carrie Ann's mentioned it before, and it's, in the end, all you have is memories, right? Memories matter. And that's the case no matter what part of life you're experiencing. But when it's the person's memory that is going, all you can live on is those memories. And that's why those matter so much. So question for both of you, feel free, both can chime in here. Obviously, you talked about someone who's got someone going through this. What about on the flip side, somebody who's never experienced this? What is it that not necessarily maybe they should look for, but just maybe when it comes down to it, what should they be cognizant of? And what is this experience that might give them an idea of, hey, I might want to consult with someone, or I might need some advice, anything like that you guys have, someone who's never gone through this experience of Alzheimer's or dementia? Feel free.
Well, for our situation, the only reason I think that we got my mother-in-law to where she ended up being as quickly as we probably did was due to a fall, which then put her in a hospital, surgery. And like I said, it just kind of all snowballed from there. But we knew before then that something was going on with her. Like, we already knew that. So let's say the back break never happened, I think that, you know, the hardest thing, and we're seeing this, I think, when any of our parents, you know, our parents are aging and, you know, in their mind, they're like, we're still young, you're my kid, don't tell me what to do. You know, just be their advocate, try to push them to go to the doctor. There's nothing wrong with seeing a neurologist if you're starting to show signs. The earlier, the better.
Mhm.
In the case of my mother-in-law, again, hers is Parkinsonian dementia, but it's, you know, still a form of dementia. I think if we maybe got her to a neurologist a little sooner, maybe the assisted living would have come a little later because the medications would have started.
Mhm.
So just don't be afraid. If you're seeing signs, don't be afraid to have the conversation. As awkward as the conversation and uncomfortable it can be, the conversation needs to happen.
I think that's great. Great idea to, you know, get those going with the loved one that might be experiencing it. My perspective is a little bit different. I'm talking to somebody who doesn't know anything about Alzheimer's, and they may be starting to experience it with somebody, but maybe not. Regardless, I think that in this day and age, we know right now that there are some medications that are new and coming out. It's really important that that person going into this, knowing nothing, knows that there's still no cure for this disease, that no matter what, they're still going to go through it. And however long or short it takes, they're going to go through a pretty bad situation, no matter which way you look at it. There are a couple medications out there now to help delay or slow it down. And there's a whole bunch of medications out there now to help with some of the symptoms. But I want people, I'm a realist and I like to tell it like it is. And I want people in a soft way to know that you're going to go through some stuff and it's not fun and it's not pretty. And you just got to, you know, try to educate yourself, try to find that support system, which is what one thing LMJs tries to be for people. And, you know, help understand those stages and those steps and those situations that you're going to have to figure out how to navigate. And also the people who aren't dealing with it, I want them to know how important this cause is. I'm always trying to raise awareness for people that remember there's no cure for this. This is why I do what I do. You have connection or not, you know, that's okay. But just listen, hear me out because this is important stuff. So.
And I know Carrie, you say it often. I won't take the words right out of your mouth, but she tells people a lot. If you've never experienced this before, you're lucky because at some point, statistically speaking, you're going to go through this. And I think that part, like you said, LMJs has a big part in this, and we want to be there for people. But at the same point, we want to have a transparent conversation with people that are going what this could look like. But also at the same point, I'm sure you guys both have, and we've had these conversations. At some point, you have to share the laugh because if not, it truly is miserable. It's a terrible experience. And your loved one may do something that you can't believe, but you know, humor and a little bit of laughter will help make the day go, as opposed to just going, I'm living in what I never could experience before. I'll find a little bit of peace in that. And that, and again, going back to what we talked about before, the memory can live on to that story of something that you can remember 10, 15 years later there. So thank you both really about sharing obviously very personal things and your story and what you're doing to kind of educate people as we go through this. So obviously this is the LMJ's podcast. So I'm going to let both of you tell me what the audience doesn't know and what I know enough of, but these two ladies know exactly what's going on. So let's hear about LMJ's. What is LMJ's? How did it start? Where's it at? And where's it going? So leave the table to both of you.
So you heard a little bit about the opening story about how we asked Lori. Prior to that, Matt and I were very involved in the Walk to End Alzheimer's. Everything we did with Team Lost Souls benefited the Alzheimer's Association, of which we are still very involved with, and support, as we'll probably talk about later. And we were doing such a stellar job of raising money, we thought, I think we can take this to the next level. and brought in Lori, started just, brainstorming and formatting what we were going to do. So it started as a walk team, turned into nonprofit, and really helped us pinpoint our focuses, which also helped us react to the community with this disease. And which is great because the community for us is who was supporting us, is who are the people that were helping us raise the money in the first place. So that's kind of the starting backstory.
And then just talking about the things that we're doing, the best part, or I think one of the best parts of LMJ's being its own nonprofit is the money that was raised prior to LMJ's being its own nonprofit was going to one place. There's still that money going to that place. But the best part to me is that we can decide where that money is going, whether it be small donations here, research, our community campaigns, which I think we're going to talk about too. But it's up to us to kind of decide where we want it to go and the things that are important to us and give back to more than just one. That's what I love about it, and just having that control.
Before we talk about where the money goes, how do you guys get the money?
We do a lot of events over the year, but this is our second year. We host many events. One of our largest events was a golf outing that we just hosted in June. We are also doing virtual fundraising, where we are reaching out to, the audience in the cyber world to donate back, and those donations are coming. And really, it comes back to our events and then the kindness of the people again in the community. I mean, Carrie Ann's been at events through chambers or even our kickoff event, I believe it was, that somebody just walked right up to you and had a check. I mean, people really have followed Carrie Ann's journey. And I always kind of point it back to you because you were kind of the originator and organizer of this. And Matt, you have a huge network that they just want to do anything to support you guys. So, I mean, anything that the community can do and be a part of and attend, and whatever, events that we have, that's kind of how we're gathering and gaining that money. And from, of course, the businesses and around the area that are supporting us as well.
Yeah, the events really support us on probably a good 70% of our donations. And that is the attendees, the donations, the raffle prizes, the sponsorships, everything that goes together to make an event successful. And we also focus really strongly on making it a fun event. We've always done that prior to even being LMJs. We want it to be fun. We want it to be engaging because we want people to show up and go, oh, I want to go to that next year. And then the personal donations that have come in throughout the years, those people turn into kind of residual supporters. We have people that use online birthday campaigns for us without us asking. This is something they want to do to give back. We have, like you said, it mentioned a virtual event. That person said, I want to do this for you. I'm going to put together this virtual sale, and we're getting, a whole bunch of money back from, this event that's going on online. So all different kinds of things. We're open to it. But yeah, our events are probably the biggest fundraisers.
I know you guys both have mentioned before certain businesses, with matching campaigns that are going on, talking to their, people talking to their employers, finding out what they can do, because it might be a one-to-one match that someone's doing. So it can add on top of that on the business side as well. So with that, where the money goes or how you get the money, where does some of the money go? I know you guys have hit a little bit on community campaigns. If you guys want to get into what that means, is I'm assuming some of the money goes towards that. And where does the money that where you guys are taking the time to do throughout the year, where does it end up going at the end of the day?
So to talk about the community campaigns, what we do is we choose 3 memory care facilities in the area. These facilities are typically chosen because they have a connection to one of us or one of our supporters. So that's how they're chosen. And what we do is run a campaign for them, raising X amount of dollars. And the dollars that are raised for those memory care facilities, Carrie Ann provides them with activities and things that they can use for their memory care residents. Things that are coming to mind are we did 9 facilities last year, and we have 3 more actually that are lined up for this year. coloring books, nail polish, iPads, baby dolls, just things that when the memory care residents are out of their apartments and amongst their community, they have things to do, things to kind of keep their minds active, things to, eye-hand coordination. Every facility is different. Every facility has different patients. Every memory care person in that facility is different. So it's the list of things that are raised and we purchase for them. And it's awesome. It's such a great feeling to know that we're able to give back to these facilities, especially knowing that they have a connection to us or to, somebody that, we know well, and, maybe their loved one is in there, or maybe their loved one was in there, whatever the connection may be. But to be able to give back and, leave a little bit of LMJ with them. So we'll, load up our bags and drop them off. And it's such a good feeling. And they are so appreciative of us doing that for them. It's such a great campaign.
I think it's cool how you talk about the directness of it. And, as you see, not that it's a bad thing that people with, just a large check, and where does the money go? And you're saying, that it's getting back to the residents' hands. It's not necessarily just going to potentially pay employee salaries. This is going directly to the people who need it the most. So that's a really, really touching way to do it. So, Carrie, you want to talk about research? You want to talk about education? You got a lot of things to go in there.
So our one of our initial initiatives was to give back to research and development. Now, that sometimes can be difficult for a little nonprofit to not even know who's doing research. Luckily, we do have a couple of great, doctors / healthcare services in the area that we have had some experience with. So we've been able to connect with them, and they heard about us, we heard about them. So last year we were able to donate to Advocate Health. We gave them $10,000, and it wasn't necessarily for a research project, but it all ties into research. So it's for early detection. They have iPads with a special program that they put on them. I think we purchased 6 licenses for this program for them. That's where the money went to for their patients to take this test / program to help with early detection of Alzheimer's. This is a big, big, big part of research, because the earlier it's detected, the quicker they can get on some of the now the medications that are helping to delay or slow it down. And it also helps with kind of a roundabout of research of developing cures for the cause. So that was a really big feather in our cap last year, and we are working with Advocate Health again right now, waiting for the proposal for what we can do to help them this year. And there are other organizations that we are talking to and hoping that we will find ways to give them money to along the same lines. We talked about the Alzheimer's Association before. We also donate as a sponsor of the Chicago Walk, $25,000 last year as well as this year. And we know that money goes to all the different great things that they do. So their 24-hour helpline, they have tons and tons of education resources and support. And we know they do invest in a lot of research and development. So we know that money, we feel good about giving that money, because we know they're the best of the best to take care of, on a much grander scale. So those are the 2 pieces that we've gotten into so far for research and development, and we hope to continue to grow that.
Research, obviously the only way to find what is the end goal, which I'm assuming is what everyone's looking for, is a cure. And obviously along the way, you still need to support the people that are dealing with this currently. So those 2 major things there when it comes to research and community campaigns are fantastic. With that being said, we'll go in reverse a little bit here to talk about LMJs as a whole. So who makes up LMJs? If you want to let the audience know what the board looks like, if there's any other members within it, I appreciate you telling the audience about that.
Here's the board.
Hello.
I knew the answer to these questions.
These 3 amazing people make up the board, and I am so grateful. Matt came on to my team around 2013, and just immediately like jumped in with both feet, arms, legs, everything, and got very involved. Like Lori mentioned, just being a great supporter of ours. I remember you running an event for us way back when, and, just always being involved and supporting us. It was a no-brainer. And even when you said, I want to get more involved, we didn't know what that looked like until it looked like it. And it was just a perfect no-brainer. So we are friends. We are family now, and we work together so great. So I can't say enough about this team right here. And then we have a group of team advocates, we call them. And they are really just like the biggest and the best volunteers that they could possibly be. They all have different expertise. They all have reasons for it, connections to the cause. And sometimes people kind of come and go in the advocate arena, but we have some really great supporters that we can't do this without, because they're always volunteering at our events and helping us to bring in people, sometimes volunteering their space for our events. You name it, they are very, very important.
And a shout out to our spouses who have supported us completely.
Definitely. Two of which are our advocates.
Yes.
Karen, thank you for sharing the information about the advocates that are on the team. Is there an age requirement to be an advocate? I have a 2-year-old. Anything that we can do?
No, well, that's funny that you bring that up. It's a great question, Matt. We actually do have a level of junior advocacy. No age level. Obviously, we want youngsters that are available to help us to learn about being a giving person, to have time and some commitment to give back to the cause. And really, this is fostering them for better things, bigger and better things. It's not because they have a personal connection to the cause necessarily. It's because we want to kind of mentor them into, the kind of people we want them to be. So.
And then in addition to that, with a lot of the events that we mentioned earlier, we have a lot of committee members that are volunteering their time to help us with specific events. So maybe they can't be at all of the LMJ events, but they want to get involved in, one of them. So we're very, very thankful for them. We're always looking for more people to help us, any volunteers. And then of course the sponsors that, offer us and support our events also get involved in our events as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key of kind of what you guys are saying, obviously the three of us decided to do this together, but it's not the three of us that can do this alone. And there's hundreds, if not thousands of people who get involved behind us throughout the year to make this happen, because it can't happen just because 1, 2, 3 people say, I want to make this happen. It has to be the community, the fact that there's community campaigns. It really is the community, though, that allow this to be driven this way. So I think that's really, important there. So I want to say, first of all, thank you both for being here, number one, for being part of this with me, and more importantly, sharing a lot of personal information and your personal story with our audience here today. With that being said, kind of both of you, what kind of businesses, what kind of people are you guys looking for that can be more involved with LMJs, or that you want to connect with potentially? Is there anything in particular?
Well, I mean, as far as volunteers go, I think really anyone who has a connection to Alzheimer's or dementia, is going through it, is looking for a resource in a way that, I mean, we're not necessarily a support group, but in a lot of ways we are a support group for each other. So it's a great way to get involved and just be a part of a group doing really great things and offering assistance, to them. And as far as sponsors go, I mean, we're always looking for anyone to support us. Big, little, it doesn't matter. Any support that they can offer us. We just had somebody who has a vending machine fundraiser at their office, where everything in the vending machine is 25 cents. And they just, they pick a nonprofit and they just picked us. So, it was just really nice to be thought of. So, I mean, that's one way of being involved.
Yeah. I mean, it comes naturally to, Lori mentioned that it's nice if they have a personal connection, of course, because it is therapeutic. I mean, that's the whole reason this team was built in the first place, because I needed therapy for what I was going through in a way. But they don't necessarily have to have a connection. but just have that, giving spirit and want to be involved in a great organization. We feel we're a great organization. And, even though we're only, going on our second year as a nonprofit, this has been in the works for 15 years. So we've been, kind of practicing this craft for a while and honing what we want to do to give back. So we're looking for like-minded businesses for that. And just continuing to expand our audience in different ways. That's kind of where this podcast was, built from, just to get out there and get the word out about us and have people learn more and say, hey, I want to be part of that. We hear that all the time. Mm-hmm. Just in being out in the community and talking about what we do. I know the three of us here all the time. I always have to be taking notes that this person wants to be involved and figure out what that looks like. This person wants to volunteer at our next event. I literally got a text at 1:00 in the morning last night from one of our volunteers that said, don't forget to keep me on the list and let me know what's coming up next. I don't know what they were doing up at 1:00 in the morning thinking about us, but they were, and I'm grateful for that. So, so we're just trying to continue to inspire and grow and get the word out to more people, as well as all of that is just building awareness around this disease, because that's what we all need.
I think getting the word out is something that anyone who's watching this can really take to heart, and you don't know where the next connection may come from. As we talked about, the data is very scary, but what I mean by that is talk to your coworker, talk to your boss. You may not know someone who is going through or something or experienced it in the past, and they may want to get on board with LMJs and do something good with the end goal of making a real difference at the end here. So obviously we're talking about how to get the word out. How can people find out more about LMJs? Where can they go? Is there a like? Is there a subscribe? Is there a share? What do we got?
Yep. Well, they can definitely go to lostsoulsandalls.org. That's our website. A lot of information on there, past events, upcoming events, ways to donate, ways to get involved, and just a little bit more about us. And then Carrie Ann really keeps our social media very active. We have our Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn. And so you can go and find any information. And then, of course, if anyone sees any of us out there, we're all big networkers and out there in the business community, just stop us and we can help them.
And we're not just looking for people to come help us, to volunteer with us and to give to us, so to speak. We are also looking for those opportunities to where we can give back. We talked about some of the programs that we're doing already. We're always looking to expand those, find those new ideas. We have some things in the back burner that we're talking about that are different than what we're already doing. We can't wait to see how those pan out. But yeah, we're looking for those opportunities as well to give back that affect this disease.
We've shared a lot of information today that has been very deep and very personal. That's really not the group of people we have up here today. We like to have fun. We like to laugh. The bloopers that we create when we try and make social media videos are all about having a good time. We want you to be part of that good time. We share this personal information so you can understand all of our stories. But more importantly, we want to have a good time, raise some money while laughing and looking back on all of the great things that we did, but doing it with a smile on our face and not just about let's be serious and find a cure, but seriously, let's find a cure. With that being said, this is a monthly podcast that I am now doing. What I mean by that is I need your help. If you know anyone who wants to be part of this, and I'm looking for people, all different ranges, whether it be a direct correlation to Alzheimer's or an indirect correlation to Alzheimer's or any form of dementia, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at podcast@lostsoulsandalz.org. Thank you both for being here on episode 1 of Remembering Together, because at the end of the day, all we have is memories. Thank you for being here.